What are humans like? Bet you didn't expect me to ask that question, did you? I know it sounds kind of strange, but in many ways, that question is at the heart of being an effective parent. Let me explain. There's been a tendency in Western culture to view humans primarily as thinking creatures and only secondarily as feeling creatures. In other words, the assumption is that what really makes us, us is our minds, and our bodies are just convenient vehicles for our minds. One philosopher described people in this view as brains on a stick. In this view, if you want to change someone's behavior, you simply need to put the right kind of information into their brain, and their behavior will change accordingly. If you teach your kids enough Bible verses, then they'll follow Christ. If you teach them why brushing their teeth is beneficial, then they'll start doing it. But that approach is incomplete because it's based on an incomplete view of what it means to be human. For instance, a kid may know that they ought to do their homework, but if you give them a chance to play video games, we know what they're going to choose. Same with adults. We know that Big Macs are bad for us, and yet McDonald's isn't hurting for customers. Here's where the previous approach goes wrong. Yes, we are thinking creatures, and we need right information, but we're also feeling creatures. Oftentimes, our feelings and our desires trump what we know to be true. Even though we know that exercise is good for us, we end up sitting on the couch because that is what we want to do. If you think about it, in most cases our desires are stronger than our knowledge. Our desires are often, if not always, the driving factor in our lives. Knowledge can help shape our desires, but just as often our desires run contrary to what we know. We humans are short-sighted. We want what we want, even when it's not what's best for us. In a way, our heart is like a compass that directs us towards whatever we love and desire the most. Except sin has broken our compass so that it points us towards the wrong things. Philosopher James Smith puts it this way: the longings of the heart both point us in the direction of a kingdom and propel us toward it. You are what you love because you live toward what you want. Let me repeat that. You are what you love because you live toward what you want. That may be going a little deep for a video on raising kids, but here's the point. If we want our kids to follow Christ, we have to address both aspects of their humanity. We need to give them right information about Christ, but we also need to stir up their hearts so that they love Him and that they desire to follow Him. As far as the head is concerned, our access to information is unprecedented in the history of the world. We need to be discerning about where we get our information from. Social media and blogs are probably not the best place. Here are a few tried and true sources of spiritual information for your kids. The first source of spiritual information for our kids is the Bible. No surprise there. This is the foremost way to gain knowledge about God, and because of that, we're going to dedicate an entire video towards that in the future. A second source of spiritual information for our kids is the church. You should find yourself a church that teaches from the Bible and attend it regularly. And if at all possible, have your kids sit with you in the regular service. Even if they don't understand everything, they will likely understand more than you think. A third source of spiritual information for your kids is books, preferably physical, actual books. You should encourage and require your kids to read from an early age. This necessarily means you'll need to regulate technology and media in your house, but it will be worth it. More on this topic in a future video. A fourth way for kids to gain spiritual information is through audiobooks, podcasts, and sermons. When they're doing a mundane task, have them at the same time listen to an audiobook or a sermon so that as they're working, they're also gaining information about God. And as a parent, I think you should follow suit and be an example. The more we can listen and train ourselves and gain information, the more our kids will see it and do likewise. Those are just a few of the ways that we can inform our kids' minds. In the next video, we will be looking at ways that we can shape their hearts. If you're interested in learning more about the head-heart split and in finding ways to direct your desires towards Christ, you should read James Smith's book, You Are What You Love. I leaned heavily on his book for the content of this video, and will do so again for our next video. The first chapter alone is worth the price of the book. You should check it out.